Listen, I've got a method to my madness. And so as we go through this consult, I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to have lots of other questions and you're going to be excited. What I'd like to ask you to do is write those additional questions down. I think that you'll find as we go through the method and the order that I've got to doing this, that all of those get answered. And we will get further if I can ask you the information that I know I need to address the specific things we're going to do in the order that I've got it. And then if at the end of the consult, you haven't had some questions answered, we can clarify then.
Hi, Roland. How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Awesome. So my question is about half-day consults, and I've been really studying specifically the growth consult, and I've been doing it a little bit with some of my prospects, more as a lead-in or a sales tool, not going through the whole thing, but just kind of cherry picking a few of the more interesting items to help, to hook them in.
Yeah.
But what I'm finding is that sometimes they answer the question and they start jumping all over kind of like my order of questions and sort of throwing so much information at me. And number one, I'm just trying to keep the order of the questions in order so that I can think clearly about their answers.
Sure.
Do you have any advice of sort of keeping that on the rails so that you can think clearly about what they're telling you and also kind of keep everything in order so it makes sense?
Yes. So as way back when I was practicing law, we had that because people want to tell you all the facts as they perceive them to be when they come in. And it's the same thing when you do a consult very often. It's like they want to solve all the problems at once. So you can do it a couple of ways. You could start by pre-framing and saying, listen, I've got a method to my madness. And so as we go through this consult, I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to have lots of other questions and you're going to be excited. What I'd like to ask you to do is write those additional questions down. I think that you'll find as we go through the method and the order that I've got to doing this, that all of those get answered. And we will get further if I can ask you the information that I know I need to address the specific things we're going to do in the order that I've got it. And then if at the end of the consult, you haven't had some questions answered, we can clarify then. Does that sound good to you? And then get their agreement to that. That really helps set up the frame from the get-go. Then you can remind them when they start asking, because they won't remember that. They'll still ask all the questions, but you can then refer back and say, remember when I said that we're going to do this kind of through an order? So for me to give you the greatest value for the consult, I really want to stick to this program. The other thing you can do is, and I have to do this pretty frequently, is when you have what we call long talkers, that will give you a 45-minute answer to every question, is to say, hey, look, I'm gonna cut you off from time to time because I only need the information I want. And I want to be sure you get, if you take it back to this every time, I want to be sure you get the full value of the consult that we're doing here and that I give you the greatest return on your investment in your time and your money in this. So let me just stop you there because I don't need any more information about that. And then I'm going to go on to the next thing. And then I'll do that. And you'll see me do it here even, right? I'll just say, so what's your question? Right. Or if they're going on about something and they need clarification, you can try to summarize where you think they're headed to get them back to where you want. Or you can just say, hey, look, I'm going to cover that in a little bit. So let's just talk about this right now. The only thing I need right now is this information about how your, funnels are going or something like that. Those are the ways that I generally do it. It's just, you have to not be afraid to interrupt, which we're taught is impolite, but it's actually the best way to move forward when you're going through something like this. And it does help them get the most value out of it.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if letting them talk. I just wasn't sure if letting them talk was actually valuable to me because sometimes they might just spit something out that I was never going to find out. So
yeah, it can be, but it within the context of you getting the information you need. So you get to, that's the cool thing is you get to be the judge of that. You can let them, if you've pre-framed that and you're not afraid to interrupt, if you see it going down something you're going to cover later or they're getting you out of order, I'd just save it. You could even make a note and say, I'm going to just make a note here to ask you about this when we get to that. and
Okay.
then you can talk. But yeah, it definitely is good to let them talk. But at the same time, you've got to control the environment. So it's truly a balance of that. But I think as long as you pre-frame and then you check them from time to time and then you refer back and you're always talking about serving them and giving them the greatest value, that it doesn't cause them to feel weird or bad about it, but it also gets you through what you need. Because you can very easily spend 4 hours and get not a lot out of somebody that talks a lot.
Yep. Or it's just so disorganized, you're not really sure what to do with it. I mean, I can't think straight about what they're telling me because
Yeah,
it's just all over the board. So, all right.
exactly.